listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Vous écoutez votre cerveau en direct. Le programme va bientôt commencer. Profitez-en.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I miss the old Ollie. Straight from the go, Ollie. Chop up the soul, Ollie. Set on his goals, Ollie. I hate the new Ollie. The bad mood, Ollie. The always rude Ollie. Spaz in the news, Ollie. I miss the sweet Ollie. Chop up the beats, Ollie. I gotta say, at the time I'd like to meet Ollie. See, I invented Ollie. It wasn't any Ollies, and now I look around and there's so many Ollies. I could do the whole song, but admittedly, folks, I miss the old Ollie. I think you all do too. That's when it was Ollie. We still love Ollie, and I love you like Ollie loves Ollie, folks. Not as much, though, as apparently, and this is according to his recent arrest, former Prince Andrew likes teenage snatch. I mean, I didn't know that. He clearly loves it if he's willing to go to jail for it. I mean, what do you mean former Prince Andrew, I have to say former, has been arrested due to possible misconduct while in office? What kind of misconduct could you mean? You know, guys, I gotta admit to you, and you know that I always try to be honest with you. When I really start to question myself and my conclusions, I really gotta bring it to you, and I gotta let you know that I'm thinking about this stuff. I'm really starting to think, with all these files coming out, I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this, but I'm about 90% sure that Jeffrey Epstein, financier, was a pedophile. Like, I'm pretty sure. Whereas Prince Andrew, man, who doesn't have an uncomfortable photo with a minor? Oh, you don't? Maybe that's because you have standards, or your PR team is well equipped, just like his. But guys, if you fuckers take away Sarah Ferguson's, product line of teas and, Moss Tea and Home Goods, I will throw a riot. I will encourage protests. If you bastards remove her products just because of a little child sex trafficking, where are me and all the other moms going to go to give our homes personality instead of our minds? You know what I mean? You sons of bitches better let this woman, she can't commit rape. That's actually not actually true. She's a woman. Women can't commit rape. That's a stereotype if you don't know. I've met some powerful women that, they go to Crunch Fitness, they go to shit and whatnot, and you're like, oh yeah, they could rape. Those are some holding down arms. I'm serious, it's true. But Sarah Ferguson, she's not the type. I mean, she's frilly, she's like a kind-spirited old witch from the UK. And I don't care what y'all say, I want to buy her soy, non-animal tested pine and ebony forest candles. Her candles, they smell incredible. Get out of my way. I don't want to hear nothing about no child sex rings. Gimme my Bath and Body Works candles, folks. That's a shout out to Les Wexner. I know that I'm trying to reach out to my feminine female audience. All you ladies who shop at Bath and Body Works, and some of you men who are just, scently inclined, any dollar that you've spent at Bath and Body Works has probably made its way to the island and is now being thrown on the body of a French 14-year-old in ones. I'm just being honest with you. All those champagne toast candles, they smell exactly like the Rothschild sex parties. Enjoy, middle American moms. You smell just like Eyes Wide Shut with those things. Folks, I'm dilly-dallying around because it's Thursday. We can have fun. Sarah Ferguson, her companies, they're being closed after the connections to the Epstein files have been revealed. It's ridiculous. They're canceling this perfectly fine woman who allegedly just emailed Epstein and said that he was the brother that she had always wanted. Play the clip.
Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing, and his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson also now facing new questions. She's now shutting down 6 of her companies after the latest Epstein emails revealed her own close ties. One document shows she wrote to him after his 2009...
Here, I'll read it to you. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I had the best discussion with Target on Friday, and they want desperately the whole Mother's Army project. They also want to get behind my entire Sarah Ferguson brand, books, etc., excuse me. Tommy Hilfiger, I think it's Figure because it's just IGR, wants to build my entire apparel, I think it's apparel, fragrance, etc., brand, and sell it on QVC, NBC, want my Mother's Army TV show. Ben Silverman wants it. So too does Ryan Seacrest. Oof, I didn't know he was in the files. in just 1 week after your lunch, it seems the energy has lifted. I have never been more touched by a friend's kindness than your compliment to me in front of my girls. Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I have always wished for. This email and files transmitted with it are confidential and intended solely for those for the use of the individual or entity to whom they are addressed. If you have received this email in error, please notify the sender immediately. And then that was sent directly from her.
Released from prison for soliciting a minor, referring to him as the brother I had always wished for. She's yet to comment on the matter. I spoke exclusively with the brother of Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, who...
Okay, Ian Maxwell, by the way, son of Robert Maxwell, gentleman who was a Mossad agent. You can look it up, it's true. He was given a hero's burial in Israel. He was given a hero's honor. It was ridiculous, and that's actually likely where Epstein got a lot of his wealth. There is a kind of a thing where it's like the transmissibility. There's a property of like, oh, there's a missing fortune here. There's a sudden, unexplainable fortune. How did Epstein get so rich when he was a medium trader at Bear Stearns throughout the early 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, however long the career that he... No one actually... There's no history of traders. There's no history of partners that we actually have. There's no one that's coming out and saying, yeah, he moved a mark. He was able to do a yard of euros every year. Like, if you're doing major financial trading, you're able to have the records. You can't go back in time and retroactively fake a hedge fund. It's ridiculous. It's nonsensical. No one can explain where his money comes from, i.e. his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. She was likely the access to Epstein, this sort of ne'er-do-well fella who just kind of fit the properties of exactly what a Mossad agent would need to be. They go ahead. I should be careful, I should stop talking before my microphone blows up or something, because I think it's Israel made. But anyways, it's like the pager operations. They're able to do anything these days. But anyways, Ghislaine Maxwell gets to know this guy. She goes, hey, my father was working with the Mossad. They need access agents. They need people who know people. You're one of those fellows who's good at networking. I think that we can get something good going. We can give you a fortune, and then eventually they work out a whole deal. Folks, the Robert Maxwell story is a fascinating one. He did not... If you want to just like a death on a boat, it's like Natalie Wood. It's a fascinating story on its face, and I think everybody should just look into it.
Speaking to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, and President Trump's former personal attorney, was moved to a more comfortable facility in Texas. People have suggested that was a reward.
We moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a more comfortable facility. Obviously, she's earned it, guys. She's on a better path. She is on the way of rehabilitation. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I choose to believe all women. I choose to believe all women, and quite frankly, free Ghislaine.
Reward for speaking to Blanche. Is that true?
No.
No.
I think you have to understand what's going on here.
Ian Maxwell.
Ghislaine. Possibly.
Ghislaine. Okay, so Ghislaine is apparently the proper pronunciation. We will be using that just like from then on. Ghislaine.
Understand what's going on here. Ghislaine is possibly the most notorious prisoner in the U.S. federal system today.
Probably. What does that have to do with anything?
We know that prison is a very violent place. Jeffrey
Violent.
Epstein died in...
Died. I love your accent. It's goofy.
Ghislaine did have many threats in Tallahassee, where she was.
This guy sounds like Tim Curry. I love him.
It was a notoriously violent and dangerous place.
Dangerous
For her
place.
own safety, she had to be moved.
She had to be moved.
A widely held perception that Ghislaine is holding back secrets, and until she gets clemency, she won't reveal everything she knows.
Well, I think that's a fallacy.
A fallacy?
You know, I've explained to you why she has chosen to remain silent. One, it's her constitutional right. Two, she has an active, live, civil proceeding in front of a federal court.
You know what? If I was president, I'd say no constitutional rights if you're from another country. Straight up. That's it. That's my true. And you know what? If it means that we can get these people way quicker, I realize that this is going to give a lot of like, we're going to start going back in history books. We're going to be like, who is actually legal, technically speaking? And then it's going to get messy really quick. But I just kind of want to unleash that on society, because what other direction are we going to go, guys, besides down from here? So let's just have fun while we're at it.
She's entitled, but it is the court that takes the view on Ghislaine, not
Ghislaine.
grandstanding members of Congress.
grandstanding members of
Epstein
Congress.
survivors were outraged at Ghislaine Maxwell's move. She filed her last petition to have her case re-examined. If that fails, her only hope will be a presidential pardon.
I mean, if he knows what's right, I guess he'll pardon Ghislaine because he knows what's right, and we have to believe all women, guys. I'm just being honest. Do you believe her? I'm gonna be honest with you. When her little lesbo cut, her Orange is the New Black look that she's got, she's actually wearing brown, like she's wearing like this tan color or whatever. But her like very just kind of like, I'm a proper lady. You know what I mean? It's an appealing image. We haven't had a proper English lady be an icon in America since like Princess Di. You know what I mean? People say that Queen Elizabeth, that's fake. She was an old lady by the time that anybody cared about her, so no, not true. That's not really the case. Betty White, she was the closest thing any of us had to a queen. Folks, except for maybe Jackie Kennedy Onassis, but then she died early, you know what I mean? She actually died pretty early, but I guess 60-something is pretty decent for that time. Whatever. Folks, we're going to get into our first story because it's quite the doozy, you know what I mean? It involves Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly Prince Andrew, getting arrested. Let's cover it. Go. Play the music, bitch. In a historic development that has sent shockwaves through the British monarchy, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, was arrested early this morning on his 66th birthday. Damn, they really... Oh, wait a minute. That is the 66? That is the doubling of 33. Holy shit, guys. Freemasons are just everywhere. I didn't realize that. They literally are everywhere. You can find their symbols encoded in every single thing. Whatever. We're going to cover this later. He was taken into arrest at his place at Wood Farm on Sandringham Estate in Norfolk, where unarmed police vehicles were seen arriving shortly after 8 a.m. local time. This marks the first time in modern history that a brother of a reigning monarch has been taken into police custody. Holy damn. This is signaling a grave new chapter for the ongoing fallout from the Epstein scandal in the United Kingdom. The arrest is specifically tied to the allegations of misconduct in public office, a charge that carries a potential maximum sentence of life imprisonment in the UK. According to the investigation reports, a newly released document from the United States Department of Justice, Mountbatten Windsor is accused of using his former role as British trade envoy to leak confidential government information. The Epstein files released under the 2025 Transparency Act reportedly contain email chains from 2010 showing the former prince forwarding sensitive trade briefs and investment opportunities in Afghanistan and Southeast Asia to Jeffrey Epstein within minutes of receiving them. What? Okay, weird. The palace has responded with a tone of solemn cooperation. King Charles III, who was officially stripped his brother of any royal titles last year, issued a direct statement acknowledging the arrest and expressing, quote, his deepest concern. The king emphasized that the law must take its course, a move seen by royal observers as a definitive break from past efforts to shield the former prince from legal scrutiny. Yeah, they've taken to a very Shrek angle. They're locking him up in a tower. They're protecting him with a dragon that oddly enough is able to reproduce with an animal that is like I don't know what you can, that's like a hamster compared to that goddamn thing. That dragon, if you don't remember from Shrek, it's huge. It's stories tall. And Donkey somehow, by is it the second movie or the third movie? I can't remember. He has kids with it. And I go, how is that even... I don't even understand. Whatever. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, oh my goodness, I love Keir Starmer, echoed the sentiment, stating firmly that the British justice system, quote, nobody is above the law. According to the Magna Carta, no one is above the crown, even the crown, except for the crown. As investigators conduct searches at both Sandringham Retreat and the Royal Lodge in Windsor, the public is bracing for further revelations. It's following years of civil litigation, public outcry. These are new criminal charges, though. They're shifting the focus from a personal conduct to the alleged betrayal of the national security and public trust. Okay, so the Thames Valley Police are moving forward with their investigation. Let's get a little bit more information.
Returning to our breaking news now from the UK. Let's go live to Ben Downey in London. Ben, police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
Rick, they have. This is nothing short of historic. 6 unmarked police vehicles arriving at Andrew's Sandringham address and entering the building, taking him into custody. Development that's happened in just the past few moments. Officers say they've arrested him for misconduct in public office. That is after revelations came through in the Epstein files detailing the alleged leaking of secrets and trade documents to the pedophile from Andrew's own email address.
Oy.
There is nothing yet to say about any alleged offences to do with human trafficking, which the former prince is still currently being investigated for. But this astonishing development is actually taking place on his 66th birthday. In just the last few moments, police have put out a statement that reads, following a thorough assessment, we have now opened an investigation into this allegation of misconduct in public office. It's important that we protect the integrity and objectivity of our investigation as we work with our partners to investigate this alleged offence. We understand the significant public interest in this case, and we will provide updates at the appropriate time. There are at least 7 police officers currently investigating or probing allegations around Andrew that have come through from the Epstein files release.
All right, get this muggy guy off my screen. He's very, like, look at the background, the mugginess. I've noticed that it just looks torrential. It always looks like there's a downpour in the background of the UK. This really does propose a very interesting question, ladies and gentlemen. How does a modern monarchy fall? Because we haven't had to contend with this for maybe a few, 100 years, a major monarchy falling. Like, I would say that, like, we could compare this to maybe the Romanovs, you know what I mean? If you're not aware, the members of the Romanovs family, if you don't know, the Emperor Nicholas II of Russia, Empress Alexandra, their children Olga, Tatiana, Maria, Anastasia, and Alexei, they were all shot and stabbed to death by the Bolsheviks. It's very, like, that was how their monarchy ended. I really hope for the UK and for their image's sake that it doesn't end a similar way. If you're not all aware of how gruesome that last one was, if you haven't seen the film Anastasia, this is a wonderful representation of exactly what it looks like when a monarchy falls. Here's Rasputin. He's like casting a spell or some shit. Fill your darkness. This is Epstein casting a spell from Tel Aviv. He's like, they've revealed the files, now destroy them.
The spark of unhappiness in our country was fanned into a flame that would soon destroy our lives.
And then the people storm the gates. They tear down the statues. Oh.
Anastasia!
They kill the whole family. Anastasia runs away in this version. She didn't get away in real life, but Anastasia's a great movie. See, this hopefully will not be a repeat of what happened. Oh, there's the bat. That's not very funny. All right, whatever. The family dies. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it. Anastasia. It's a classic. What is the fucking main song? Once Upon a December. That's a great one. It'll make you cry. Anyways, I really hope for the United Kingdom's sake it doesn't end in a similar way. It seems as though King Charles is struggling with this news. He doesn't seem very happy. And you can imagine why. You can imagine why as, like, if you have siblings. If you don't, you're probably not normal, which is okay. I'm sorry, people who don't have siblings, they don't turn out very normal. They need someone around their age at home to keep them humble. That's just kind of factually true. But anyways, like, if you've had a sibling, you would probably be like, yeah, it would probably be really uncomfortable if that person went to jail for some alleged horrific crime. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna give a statement to the press, like, man, I feel really tough about the situation he's in, and you're not gonna address it at all? Well, that seems to be the angle that he's taking, quite frankly. Let's actually review the statement that the king himself put out. Play it out.
Intensifying outcry with the release of Giuffre's posthumous memoir, and as more Epstein files were made public. Andrew appearing in many documents.
Yep.
Last year, King Charles formally stripped Andrew of his royal titles. And guys, in literally the last couple of minutes, we have received a statement from King Charles about the arrest of his younger brother. I'm going to read it to you now. The king says, I have learned with the deepest concern the news about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and suspicion of misconduct in public office. What now follows is the full, fair, and proper process by which this issue is investigated in the appropriate manner and by the appropriate authorities.
Do you guys think they're going to do it? I am maybe like 60% sure that they would do it that he might call the shot on his own brother. He might not even have to, quite frankly. MI6, they operate separate too, and they operate separate only reporting to the prime minister. So quite frankly, I think that MI6, whoever's got this planned out, Mossad even, I think that Mossad definitely, but the UK might be willing to like quiet their own guy up. They might be willing to. I don't know. I'm saying maybe 60% chance that he offs himself, as the kids would put it, in jail. 60%, let's call it that.
In this, as I have said before, the authorities, have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation. Let me state clearly, the law must take its course. As this process continues, it would not be right for me to comment further on this matter.
I actually, if you want to talk about the law taking its process, how about we talk about the tunnel crash and your former wife and the fact that you and your agency, I think it was you and your mother actually, they were like, oh no, yeah, I'd rather we not have her mixing the royal blood with Arab blood. I'd rather have her not marrying that Middle Eastern fella. So let's just, have paparazzi chase them, maybe have the driver be a plant, you know what I mean? Whatever we got to do, let's just plow her limo into the side of a tunnel.
Meanwhile, my family and I will continue in our duty and service to you all.
What do you do? That's my question. What do you do for anything?
An unprecedented statement from the king, and I can tell you guys, we have been speaking to royal historians all morning. No one can think of a parallel where the younger brother of the sitting monarch is in police custody.
Amazing.
And potentially facing charges. Great.
I love this.
Indeed, Ralph Sanchez and law enforcement, that breaking news, Ralph, thank you.
Guys, this is history.
Hallie Jackson, who has interviewed Epstein survivors throughout the course of this investigation. Hallie, good morning. So Andrew's been arrested.
Good morning.
There's fallout over other public figures who've been tied to Epstein. But I can't help but think about all of the victims here, the victims who've been showing up place after place, waiting for something to happen. So how important have their voices been in all of this?
Not very, I don't think.
And that is what so many, I think, around the country and around the world have tried to center.
What I mean by not very, I was not saying that their testimony didn't matter on a whatever scale. I agree, it clearly got something. I'm saying that, do you guys really think that we're going to get too terrible massive change from this? I think that they're throwing a sacrificial lamb, as they tend to. I think that this is like an old practice where maybe they discover one of our sex operations. Trust me, you probably there's probably a Jeffrey Epstein style person living in every major city in America. That's probably a fact. I'm being honest with you. Every major city, if you have a most populous town or city of your state, there's probably an Epstein-style figure. Even in Wyoming, even in South Dakota, I'm not lying to you. This is probably true. There are definitely more island-type situations. Maybe not everybody can afford an island, but what I'm trying to say is that there's ranches. There is pedophile cults. There are things operating in the mountains of Colorado. There are operations operating in Nebraska, just like the Franklin scandal, that would, if you found out about what was happening just north of your city, probably, your head would spin around like the girl from The Exorcist. I'm not going to lie to you. Why do you think Native women disappear so often? We talk about it all the time on this show. Not just Native women, they just happen to be one of the groups that nobody gives a shit about. I'm sorry, it's true. It's true that people do not give a shit about Indian or Native American, whatever you'd like to call them. They call themselves Indian. I would know. I went to their hospitals as a child. You know what I mean? I understand that it's a common diminutive term that they use for one another. Whatever. They literally put it on the buildings at their hospitals. Whatever. It doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say here is that they target groups of people that they know no one gives a shit about. Whether it's white trash, brown trash, black trash, it's trash. They go to trailer parks. They go to people and families that are not in good situations. Mothers who would sell their own children. I'm not lying to you. This is old school stuff. If you didn't know about like how people used to sell their children into slavery because they thought that was the only way that they could provide a life for that child, was like, yeah, go serve some wealthy person. At least you'll be better off than living in this hovel with me. There are people, that's an old school like Mesopotamian mentality. That's how they used to collect slaves back in the day. That is just factually accurate. That's a true statement. What I'm trying to say is that they find people in the most desperate situations and they take and they've been doing this for years. It's not a new thing. We have only stumbled upon one of these operations, but there are ones operating everywhere, and nobody will tell you that. Nobody will be honest about it, and I promise you, there are some major news organizations that are sitting on stories that are like 5, 10, 16 years old, however many, that are just like, we've known about these situations, but the person at the head of the corporation goes, it's not a sexy story, it's not modern, it's like, no one, who's heard about Billy Bonglingba from Boslabo, Idaho? No one's heard of this wealthy guy who's like a lawyer but who hasn't passed the bar exam, who just has a mansion with a bunch of money. Nobody really cares about like what he might be doing to that small town or to maybe the trailer park nearby. No one cares, and these things are happening everywhere.
The voices of these survivors, including one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Now, this arrest, of course, is a separate matter than the sex assault allegations against Andrew, which he has long denied. By Virginia Roberts died by suicide last year.
Whoa.
But this morning, we are hearing from Giuffre's family. They saying,
clipped a part out.
At last. They say their broken hearts have been lifted at the news that no one is above the law, not
Hell
even
yeah.
loyalty. They go on to say, on behalf of our sister, we extend our gratitude to the Thames Valley Police for the investigation and arrest. And they say Andrew was never a prince, adding, for survivors everywhere, Virginia did this for you.
She's such a Jesus type. Listen, she was killed. Virginia Giuffre was murdered. And if you don't believe that, look into it like for a second. It's true. Folks, what else is there to say about this except for it's horrific. We're going to continue to cover more as it comes out, but we have to cover something else that's really, really rather important, and it pains me to say it, folks, but the U.S. and Iran may be on the brink of war. Let's get into it. Shake it up, shake 'em. The United States is ready to strike Iran as early as this weekend, but Trump is undecided, according to insiders. Folks, if you didn't know that tensions in the Middle East have reached a critical tipping point, well, they have. This morning, as the Pentagon informs President Trump, the United States forces are fully positioned for a potential strike against Iran as early as this weekend. This massive military buildup has been described as the largest air and naval presence in the region since 2003. My birth year! Woo! I cannot wait. It is following months of maximum pressure tactics and the recent deployment of a second carrier strike group led by the USS Gerald R. Ford. Gerald R. Ford. While the military is on the trigger, White House officials emphasized that President Trump remains undecided, weighing on the prospect of massive multi-week campaigns against the possibility of a last-minute diplomatic breakthrough. Fuck, guys. Now, if you're the nervous type, I would love to tell you this. We're not going to institute the draft again. If you are the nervous type holding your boyfriend going, oh, I don't want him to go or anything, it's like, well, just be grateful for the fact that you, if you are of the feminine gender, you will not be drafted, especially due to historical standards and the fact that you are not in the selective service program. And you don't have to register for that at 18. If you don't know about it, ask your boyfriend. Anyways, we have to address the fact that America has learned its lesson from the last time with all of our grandparents. Admittedly, you hate your grandparents now because they live in a house that's better than yours, and they will not die or move out to give the new generations an opportunity at owning a house. So, yeah, you have some degree of ability to be mad at them, but be a little bit grateful for the fact that these people, they were the breakthroughists. They were the originals on this subject. Draft card like burners and whatnot, draft dodgers, the card people that they would like burn your draft card here and whatnot. That was the OGs. That was the OG hippie generation, and you have to give them some degree of credit for setting the libertine standard. So, be mad at the boomer generation for whatever you want, but give them some credit where credit is due. The current standoff is fueled by the dead-on-arrival ultimatum issued by the administration demanding that Iran immediately halt all uranium enrichment and dismantle its ballistic missile program. While high-stakes negotiations have been taking place Geneva, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt noted Wednesday that while diplomacy is the preferred route, quote, there are many reasons and arguments for kinetic action. The president himself has been vocal on social media, warning that if the deal isn't reached, the United States is prepared to issue strategic assets, including the remote base at Diego Garcia, to eradicate potential threats. Oh, man. Inside Iran, the regime has shifted its military doctrine from defensive to offensive, with the IRGC warning that they are prepared to close the Strait of Hormuz, Hormuz. I'm sorry if I pronounce it weird. This geopolitical powder keg is further complicated by the internal unrest in Iran, as the Trump administration has signaled support for the ongoing anti-government protests. As of this broadcast, currently, the Pentagon has begun moving non-essential personnel out of the region in anticipation of potential Iranian retaliation. 9/11 too. I mean, that's kind of the degree of which we're getting. Hey, by the way, Pentagon, if you're actually struck ever, can you actually have a security camera that works this time? I still don't believe that the Pentagon was hit on 9/11 because show me one video. Show me one video of it happening. And I'm not saying that 9/11 2 is coming because that would obviously, we're a satirical show. That was a joke. We're making humor out of this. But obviously whatnot, you should be, I think we should be nervous. We should be, if we're thinking about striking that country, we have to realize that the enemy is already here. We have to realize that open border wise, people have been moving into the country for as long as they have. Russia perfected sleeper agents, so that eventually the countries below them and whatnot, people have stolen their assets. You should assume that other countries do have sleeper agents. You should assume that they are embedded within the United States and that they are waiting for an activation one day. I'm sorry, they said Osama bin Laden, if you don't know, he said he was planning something that would dwarf 9/11, and I'm really, really hoping that's not the case here. That who wants that? Nobody. You know what I mean? Currently, we'll be monitoring the president's movements and any official orders that are coming out of the White House. We do only have one more broadcast for this week, so if there is any major alerts, stay subscribed. I will post any sort of breaking news that we know that we're going to war. So, I'm going to play this clip so that I can take a sip of coffee. Sorry, I don't mean to say it like a loser from New York.
Is the U.S. preparing for war with Iran? One of your top DC Daily headlines for February 19th. Is the U.S. on the verge of war with Iran?
Could be fun.
U.S. military assets have been flooding the Middle East and is preparing to strike Iran as early as this weekend, while Iranian troops have been conducting drills overnight with Russia. American warships, dozens of fighter jets, 2 aircraft carrier strike groups are now positioned in the Middle East after direct talks between the U.S. and Iran stalled on Tuesday.
Nice.
Iran looking for 2 weeks to flesh out proposals for a diplomatic program, while the U.S. is demanding that Iran give up its nuclear program and stop enriching uranium.
Please.
The president reportedly not making a final decision on military action yet, but any strike on Iran would likely be launched in coordination with Israel. President Trump's first meeting of his newly created Board of Peace is in D.C. today, with some U.S. allies saying they will not join. The U.K., the EU, Germany, France, all declining invitations. And Pope Leo also saying this week the Vatican will not join. More than 20 countries
What do they have to offer?
Participate.
Prayers?
The president saying today's meeting will make a major announcement on Gaza aid and reconstruction.
Okay.
A protest against the board's approach to the crisis in Gaza is also expected outside of the meeting this morning. The Trump administration now ordering FEMA to suspend sending aid workers to parts of the country devastated by disaster during the partial government shutdown, now in day 6.
Damn.
Even though most deployments are paid for through disaster relief funding, which is not impacted by the shutdown.
Well, when it rains, it pours, I guess.
300 FEMA responders were preparing to deploy when they were told not to go.
Shit, okay. He's like, why make it any easier for them?
The U.S. military is preparing to strike Iran as early as this weekend, but President Donald Trump remains undecided on whether to greenlight the attack.
There's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran.
The potential strikes follow Trump's deployment of the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier to the Middle East, joining the USS Abraham Lincoln, and relocated U.S. fighter jets. Trump has dodged questions on the matter, while diplomacy...
Why don't we give the fighter jets fun names? Why don't we give, the fighter jets, the Falcon, John Wilkes Booth, or something fun.
He remains his first option amid ongoing talks for a nuclear deal. Israel may also launch strikes on Iran's missile program pending U.S. approval.
Damn. I mean, where does this go from here? Probably not to anything where you're going to be asked to show up to the bus and they're going to pull you to boot camp. I don't think that that's going to be the case anytime soon, thankfully enough. We're not in a Vietnam-style era yet. Like I said, guys, I've been comparing this era a lot to the 60s and 70s, where there's assassinations, there's a lot of social unrest ever since COVID, George Floyd. We've had a tough go of it, honestly, guys. There's a lot of social unrest, there's a lot of, the Roe v. Wade situation got people's bloods boiling. People are upset about Ukraine. I don't know why exactly, you know what I mean? It's like, I understand people feel bad about a democracy being taken over by a pseudo dictatorship democracy dictatorship because they hold elections in Russia. That's more to say than they do in Ukraine, you know what I mean? They did have elections, but then he canceled them, but he's having them again. So like hopefully now, I'd say they're about the same degree of dictator. I have no idea. You know what I mean? What do I know? I'm an idiot, and I just love to talk about geopolitical matters. But from what I know on the subject, Zelensky is no more a decent leader or of his people or of his land than Putin seems to be. As it seems his government routinely murders people, has death squads, forcefully conscripts people off the streets into his military forces, and bans Russian languages in certain provinces, bans Russian books. Bans also certain denominations of Christianity. I don't know. It's just, it feels bizarre, doesn't it? You know what I like to be sending a country that behaves that way, any sort of money or support, and then people will go like, well, what about America? And then it's like, we don't do that. You can't compare anything we've done to that, and anything we're doing now to what they're doing now over there. Sorry, that's not how things work in this world, folks. I think that we should get to the rapid fire section of today's headlines, because so much stuff that I don't have time to cover. I don't have time to dedicate a couple paragraphs to. So we're gonna zoom into it, and then we're gonna give you the basics of what you need to know. So let's begin. United States President Trump launches the Board of Peace amid global controversy. President Trump has convened the inaugural meeting of his new Board of Peace. The initiative aimed at overseeing peace efforts and reconstruction, notably in Gaza. The launch included $10 billion in U.S. contribution, strong rhetoric on Iran's nuclear program, and criticism of European allies who declined full participation. I mean, yeah, it's a Board of Peace. Who doesn't want to be on that? Bulgaria appoints a new caretaker of government ahead of its elections. In Eastern Europe, Bulgaria's political crisis continued with the installation of a caretaker. A caretaker of government has been tasked with managing fair parliamentary elections slated for April 19th, 2026. Russia says that it's not ready for peace as Ukraine is holding negotiations that, they're faltering, to say the least. The European Union is stating that Russia showed no tangible signs of engagement toward peace talks with Ukraine amidst ongoing missile strikes and stalled Geneva talks. Ukraine's President Zelensky criticized diplomatic stagnation and divisions emerged over Western approaches. Sweden announced new military aid for Ukraine, and geopolitical tensions are remaining high across Europe. Maybe don't take a trip over there anytime soon, in all honesty. The Uralic Mountains are like a pretty good dividing line for where you should be. I'm sorry. And if people start speaking Uralic languages, like maybe head on out. I'm sorry. Finland is maybe testing the waters a little bit, because it's like they're right on the border, guys. Any of those like Baltic ones, Lithuania, Estonia, I'm sorry. You guys got to be careful right now. It's in all honesty. It's not because of any like threat that you pose to them. It's that you're right in the crosshairs of like a accidental drop of a missile, and no one wants that. You guys don't offer much besides caribou, pretty cities, you know what I mean? Pretty languages, pretty people, they tend to be pretty people, The United States is expanding immigration detention authority. The United States Department of Homeland Security has issued a memo broadening federal immigration authorities' ability to detain even legal refugees, sparking fierce debate over the immigration rights and enforcement policies. Civil liberties advocates are warning that the move could lead to widespread detentions beyond traditional removable movable populations. I mean, if I am causing a ruckus enough to get detained by ICE, I don't know what I'm doing. What am I up to? That's a curious way to spend your afternoon. Oh shit. Tree falls on guests at Disneyland. They're gonna try really hard to cover this one up.
And a scary moment at the happiest place on earth as a large tree falls.
It is not the happiest place on earth, and you are, if you should not be calling it that if you are over the age of 8.
Onto guests during strong winds from these storms. This happened on the patio of the Plaza Inn just after 11:30 last night while couples celebrated Sweethearts Night. Rwanda Joseph and her husband Mark traveled there from Las Vegas. They say they were waiting for a Lady and the Tramp photo when the ficus tree fell on top of them.
Bro.
I heard the snap and then I saw it fall. And then as it fell, I ran over to my wife and tried to help her as much as I could.
Wait, these people aren't dead? If these people died, I'd understand if it was a national story, but I kind of agree with Disney. These people lived, so, like, what money?
Knocked down by the tree, and so my husband pretty much lifted the branches and stuff off of me.
My man's was so strong.
I saw that staff came over.
Now, the couple was treated on site for minor injuries. Disney says the fire department cleared the tree overnight and that no one else was seated in that patio area at the time. Despite the scare, the Josephs still plan to go back to Disneyland.
What the fuck? Why? They're indoctrinated. They're willing to go and kill themselves again? Listen, I'm sorry, but next time that you're there, a minecart is gonna fall on you from the Seven Dwarves ride. You're gonna die. You're gonna die if you go there. Whatever. There's another federal prosecutors resigning en masse in Minnesota as a wave of career federal prosecutors in Minnesota have resigned or retired amid the political pressures associated with the Trump-era policies and the situations around fraud. No one wants to talk about it, but this exodus is significantly weakening the prosecutorial capacity of our state. It's resulting in some defendants receiving unexpected breaks or delays in their cases, and nobody wants that. The United States Democrats are recalibrating strategy possibly on transgender rights after setbacks in the 2024 elections attributed in part to the Republican messaging around the transgender issues. Democratic strategists and LGBTQ plus advocates are arguing a revamped, provocative approach on trans rights to prevent narrative vacuums and counter GOP tactics ahead of the upcoming 2026 contests might be the right strategy. I don't know if that is listen, I don't know if you're ever going to win America over on trans youth or transgender rights in general if stories like this continue to come out.
And a major New York City hospital is ending medical treatment for transgender youth. In a statement, NYU Langone says it's discontinuing its transgender youth health program because of the current regulatory environment. This past December, HHS cut off federal funding from hospitals that provide gender-affirming care to children, leading many to end their programs.
By the way,
now, NYU
probably
Langone
for the breast. I get it, for the breast, I get it. But for the best, in the sense where, if you are above the age of 18, you're properly suited in yourself and within your personality to make your own choices. Before said time, you're a kid and you don't really know shit. You're kind of dumb. You don't know anything about the world. I'm not even above 30 and I'm still dumb. And I will still be dumb probably in my 40s because everybody is dumb to some extent. They don't know everything. Part of wisdom is recognizing how little you actually know. That's just a fact.
In our care, manage this change. Let's bring in ABC's medical contributor, Dr. Alok Patel, for more on this. Dr. Patel, this is the first hospital to rescind gender-affirming care for minors. What's your reaction to this as a pediatrician?
The gut reaction, not only from myself, but also from my colleagues, is a little bit of frustration because once again, we have science being intermixed with politics, with federal funding being used as a leverage. And you're right, this is not the first hospital. According to a stat analysis, over 40 hospitals since the beginning of 2025 have either limited or shut down their gender-affirming care programs. But we're seeing a lot of this being driven by rhetoric. One example is major medical associations call this gender-affirming care. HHS calls it sex-rejecting procedures. So you've got this situation where we might be ending abrupt care for some families. This might widen inequity where people who can afford to go out of state or go get private out-of-pocket.
Oh, widen inequity? No, they're saying that no one, no matter how rich you are, should have access to this. It's like the abortion issue. I think people misunderstand the Republicans' side on abortion. They go, do you realize you're making it so much harder for people in states where abortion is illegal they have to travel out of state? And they go, Republicans hear that argument and they go, yeah, I'd rather nobody in my country at all has the ability to kill children. I think the ability to understand the Republican argument on it is you have to understand they're not thinking about the woman at all in this situation, because in many ways they've recognized that a separate entity, whatever you can call it, you know what I mean, a fetus, a child, the start of a human life, whatever term you want to use for it, they will assign the idea that a life has begun. There is something unique about that life. There is something like it has an opportunity at a life that it can live, and as a result, it is independent. It has an interest in life, and that life needs to be protected. They are not trying to tell women what women can do with women's bodies, because they're not saying that it is the woman's body. They're saying, no, you have a body in you. You have someone in you. You have a separate interest inside of you. And all of us started off as that separate interest. And as a result, if you are not intellectually honest enough to understand the Republican argument, then you can't have an honest conversation about abortion. You're just going to be, men shouldn't have an opinion even. You shouldn't even be able to have an honest... All right, feel how you want to feel. People are still going to have their opinions, and guess what? Unfortunately, they vote probably more than you do. That's just the case. Folks, have whatever opinion you want on the transgender youth issue. Go watch the video in the comments and see how people are arguing in the comments section. It's very, very not fun. This is also very not fun. Eight skiers have been killed in a California avalanche.
Once we arrived at the location, it was just after 5:30 p.m. last night. They were able to locate the 6 survivors. They were sheltered. They had some equipment with them trying to not only stay warm, but they had medical issues as well. They had themselves already started, looking for their teammates and their clients that were missing in the avalanche. They were able to locate 3 decedents at the time when they were waiting for us to get there to help rescue them. 2 of the 6 were not mobile. They could not walk because of the injuries they sustained during the avalanche. And we were able to safely get them the 2 miles from that location to the snowcat. And 4 others were able to get to the snowcat themselves. So all 6 were rescued off the mountain. The information I have at the time at this time is that of the 6, 1 was a Blackbird Mountain guide, and 5 survivors were clients on that tour. 9 women and 6 men total. Of the 15 that were on this guided trip, they were 9 women and 6 men. We were able to rescue 1 man and 5 women.
Damn.
8 of the additional 9 additional...
That's pretty sexist. You just left all those men up on the mountain to die? Damn.
Additional skiers have been located deceased. We are still looking for 1 of the members at this time.
They went, these girlies are too cold. The men, they'll be able to figure it out. They'll be able. It's like Titanic rules, and I love Titanic rules because that's the same reason that it's like, women and children first. You know what I mean? It's like I would have done the thing that the one guy does in the real scummy guy in Pirates of the Caribbean, is it where he like fakes being a woman, fakes having a baby and whatnot, and to get on the lifeboat. That's a brilliant idea. Anyways, there is a secret U.S.-Cuba diplomatic track apparently, and great power tensions. Recent reporting shows that United States secret talks have begun between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the grandson of former Cuban leader Raul Castro. What? They're aiming to pressure Cuba toward political change. Moscow is pushing back against United States pressure, creating a triangular geopolitical dynamic while Cuba faces deepening economic hardship. Of course. I mean, Cuba hasn't been in a good situation in a while. We're going to end the rapid fire section with a hot take, folks. I think all frat kids, fraternity, sorority, doesn't matter. I think all of y'alls, if you're listening, and I'm sorry, this is just a hot take, are gay. Being a bitch boy for other people your age. I mean, if you're one to have ever wanted to join like a community so badly that you were willing to do like the hazing rituals, you know, the stupid one where everybody says that it's like, we all have to jerk off in a circle and the last one to come has to eat the cracker. If you're willing to do that, you're gay. It's just, it's true. You're lame and no one likes you. And I'm sorry if you've ever wanted to join one. I judge you severely for it. I'm sorry. It's just it's a piece of me that goes, I have a distinct like hatred in my soul for someone telling me, do this, do that. Hey, whatever. You want to be ordered around like that? That's kind of gay. That's pretty faggy to me. I'm sorry. That's just true. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been disturbing body cam footage that has showed hazing of shirtless, blindfolded university students in Iowa doing a frat pledge. Let's play this clip, and it'll be in the description if you want to review it, because it is the goofiest thing. Roll this clip for every person going to college soon. Play this for your kids. If your kids are stupid and they're like, Mom, I want to join Sigma Kappa Alpha, or whatever, show them this clip and say, hey, this is what you have to look forward to. Do you want to be a little bitch boy? Do you want to be a little fag boy for a bunch of other men? They're going to disrespect you and treat you like shit? Take a look at this clip, folks.
Okay, well, we need to find someone who's in charge, because this is ridiculous. Hey, this stops here, guys. This is a police department. This stops here. Who's in charge? They're upstairs.
It's a room full of frat-age gentlemen, boys, either in shirts, but some shirtless, blindfolded, in the basement of a university thing in Iowa. This is the gayest thing I've seen in my life. I sound like Pierce from Community, but it's true.
How about we start cleaning this up?
Yep.
Everyone take their blindfolds off.
Yep. What are you kids doing?
See anything over there? No.
And then there's fire department.
One dangerous fire code violation. Yeah.
Yeah, fire code violations for sure, because they're frat boys.
Yep. For sure.
This is the stupidest shit. All this for a club or a t-shirt. I never went to college. This is why. This is goofy shit. And I wasn't smart enough for it, but that's it. Let's be honest, I just wasn't dedicated enough for it, but that's chill. It got me away from doing this shit. Losers have gotten alcohol poisoning and died. People have died at college parties. Did you know that? People have died at college parties. People have actually, they get a taste of freedom in their fucking little sad Midwest lives, and they go too far and they die. That's a real thing, and it's sad. It's not good. No one I'm not endorsing this. But I'm having a Josh, because obviously it's a comedic show. We have to have fun. But I'm not trying to make light. I'm trying to make light of the idea that some people, they take it too far. They want to join a club. They want to live out their Animal House dream that they grew up watching. They want to be John Belushi. And it's just the stupidest, goofiest Greek. Like, you are a fake Spartan. People, they get into jujitsu, they get into fighting and stuff, because it's like, we're real men, we clash and shit like that. It's like you're little gay boys who want to get an excuse to touch each other. Look at this stuff. This is insane. That house is filthy. Talk to the boys. Say something to them. Never mind. I guess that they're done. Whatever. whatever. It's a hazing ritual. And if you ever want to be disrespected by your peers and just not have any respect for yourself or have any dignity in anything, just go ahead and join a fraternity. That's a really good way for people to know that you have no self-respect and you identify yourself through what groups you belong to. And that is one of the saddest things. That's one of the saddest things that you can be as a human being. Just someone who identifies with groups and goes, yep, that's me. They represent everything that I'm all about. Everything, straight up. Folks, we're going to do one final story, and then I'm going to release you for the day. You get to have a great rest of your day. You can enjoy whatever it is you do on a Thursday, and then we'll be back for the final broadcast Friday. But in the meantime, let's cover this last story. Go! Twin Cities communities are seeing more ICE activity despite the down draw. I mean, it's insane. Apparently, the claims from Tom Homan were, we're going to pull back. We've been remarkably successful in this region, and we're going to pull back our forces. The Minnesota tenants now, their unions are urging renters not to pay rent amid the ICE surge. The fuck are we doing, guys? A high-stakes showdown is brewing between the Twin Cities residents and federal authorities as reports of ICE activity have continued to surge despite recent claims of a drawdown from the White House. While Border Czar Tom Homan recently announced that hundreds of agents would be leaving Minnesota, local leaders and advocacy groups say that the reality on the ground tells a different story. Reports indicate that federal agents have shifted their focus from the urban core to the suburbs and exurbs. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Round them up when they're hiding in the forest. With several high-profile arrests occurring just as the scale back was supposedly taking effect. The humanitarian and economic toll of this operation, known as Operation Metro Surge, has reached a breaking point. Thousands of residents are reportedly sheltering in place, afraid to go to work or even take their children to school for fear of being detained. I'm goofy. If you're here legally, you got nothing to fear. If you're brown or black, my friend, as Bruce Springsteen said, you'll be shot or deported on sight. God, he hasn't been relevant in years, and he's goofy, and his singing voice has always been goofy. We look back on him, he's like an Elvis figure, where he just it's like people do impressions of him and you laugh. You know what I mean? He's not a serious figure. This climate of fear has led to a strategy of loss of income, a staggering loss of income. This wasn't a strategy for these working families. Some estimates suggesting that the Twin Cities have accumulated over $50 million in excess in rent debt since the surge began in December. Fuck. Not a good time to be a landlord in the state of Minnesota right now. In a bold act of resistance, the Twin Cities Tenant Union and a coalition of 5 major labor unions are now calling for what could be the largest rent strike in United States history in over a century. The unions, representing nearly 26,000 members, have pledged to withhold their rent starting March 1st if Governor Tim Walz does not enact an immediate statewide eviction moratorium and allocate $50 million in emergency relief. Fuck them. Fuck them. Fuck them. This is a scam. This is an ability that, like, you fuckers don't want to pay rent and you just want the state to bail you out. Fuck you. That's just what I have to say to them. Fuck you. 4 members of the Minneapolis City Council have already signaled their support. Some people even pledging to join the strike themselves, of course, because you guys have very little to lose because you live in decent homes, to protect their most valuable constituents, according to the article. But really, it's because they have nothing to lose. As of March 1st, the deadline, it's approaching, man. March 1st. It's a couple weeks away. Twin Cities remain a flashpoint for the national debate on immigration and housing rights. I think that we should play this clip, and you guys should get a little bit more context from some people who can speak a little bit more clearly, or at least get paid the money to do it.
Well, despite the White House saying Operation Metro Surge is over, the impact is still hitting home. The University of Minnesota estimates people owe tens of millions of dollars in rent. Now, a local tenants union is urging everyone not to pay rent next month.
Ugh, you bums.
Our explains why.
Ah,
nearly 2-month federal surge causing this for some.
People that are afraid and they don't want to go outside.
They don't want to go outside.
That's why on Tuesday, labor and tenant unions say they announced a rent strike drive ahead of March 1st. Nonprofit Twin Cities Tenants is leading the charge, hoping for 10,000
Ugh.
Twin Cities renters to join them.
We think that a rent...
Oh, look at his white boy hair. It looks wet. He's got an Ed Sheeran cut. I hate the teal. He has brown, like tortoise-colored glasses for the frames, but then the sticks that hold them to your face, you know what I mean? They're blue teal, and he just looks like a lesbian. I love it. He looks good.
We'll put pressure on local,
Charlie Tyree.
Politicians to enact an eviction moratorium.
Charlie
Fuck
Tyree
you.
lives in this South Minneapolis apartment.
And you, as a tenant, will you be paying your rent next month?
Nope. We need to represent the interests of our most vulnerable populations.
Get the fuck
The
out.
Twin Cities landlord, who didn't want to go on camera, says that this would impact him greatly. He
Yes.
has a few properties in the metro simply for side money for his kids' college tuition.
Do you guys not realize that you're affecting actual scummy landlords? Like, not all of them are scummy. Some of them are decent people that just want to own property and like make you pay out the nose for it because it's the economy, idiot. If you don't like it, buy your own house. Otherwise, rent and then don't complain because we're all trying to make our way in the world. Quit bitching.
And he says that if he didn't receive rent from all of those properties, he also uses that money to pay for their mortgages. The same day unions announced the upcoming strike, University of Minnesota released data showing that excess statewide rent debt linked to the operation reached between $27.4 million and $51.3 million by February of this year. This number on top of the $44.6 million in rent debt that's typically expected during any 2-month period.
If there were 10,000 evictions filed in tenant court, that
Good.
would muck up the courts into making that process so slow, they would never get to me.
A strategy that Tyree says...
They would never get to me. They'd get to some black family before me. Like some inner city family that's on EBT and shit. But I live in this decent thing. I live in this decent apartment called, what was it? The Petonia or something? Some bullshit. He's like, I don't have to worry about this. Me with my white jeans, my nice button-up green shirt, and my gay little glasses, and my painted white nails. I love it.
Could help slow down the process of those on an eviction list.
If we do authorize the strike by having that minimum 10,000 number, it's not a hope that will happen, it's a reality that will happen.
Frankie McClister, WCCO News.
Guys, we
reached out to the governor's office for a response, so they replied saying the governor does not have currently legal authority to enact an eviction moratorium.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant, brillante. I love it. I love it so much. This is very
It's been
fun.
almost a week since White House Borders Czar Tom Homan told us that ICE was ending the surge in Minnesota, but not everyone has seen a drawdown just yet. In fact, many cities outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul say they're seeing more action. Jason Ranthula spoke with one observer who saw a recent increase in agents.
People are afraid to leave their homes.
People are afraid to leave
Kids
their
are needing to get on
homes.
the school bus.
Dan Kessler is a state Senate candidate for District 48.
We are not seeing a drawdown. In fact, we are seeing a ramping up.
And constitutional observer in the Chaska area.
Yesterday, we saw more vehicles out than we've seen in a while, maybe ever.
Here's his Facebook post from Tuesday.
This morning, we had 8 confirmed ICE vehicles here in the Chaska area, with many more agents than that, and one abduction that we are aware of.
Abduction. I like that they use the term abduction. Folks, I mean, feel however you want. They ran people out of my town before, you know what I mean? And in all honesty, good riddance. If you weren't hiring people legally, I don't want you around. I don't want you here. If you're not here legally, I understand that you might be a mom and whatnot. I understand you might have issues. Sort it out in court. I don't know what else to tell you. You know, I can find another Chinese dragon. That's the trouble here. Guys, it's unfortunate, but this is the way that we got to think about it. What are we going to do? Are you not going to pay rent? Are you going to be the broke ass? Are you going to be the guy that sits on his hands all day, you know what I mean? And tells your wife, like, I'm standing up for our rights. Honey, ignore the pink slip. Rip it off the door. Throw it in the garbage disposal that's not fixed yet. Or you know what? Put it in the ceiling fan that doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? Like, fucking, we're standing up for our rights because you have so many. Yes, you who relies on grocery stores and doesn't know how to grow anything in a garden. You are a true independent, ladies and gentlemen. Folks, That's not you, of course. You are the audience of Your Brain on Air. You are educated. You are saintly. You are good individuals who consider all the rights of humanity in every decision you make. And I bless you all for that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I had such a great time collecting these stories for you. I hope you had an even better time listening to them. We will come back at you with the Friday broadcast. It'll be the final one for the week. But as you know, we do Monday through Friday. We'll be back at it again next week. If we go to war with Iran, I will let you know. If whether it's Friday, whether it's Saturday, whether it's Sunday, subscribe, because I always put shit out there. I do the posts and whatnot. I announced Catherine O'Hara's death. You know what I mean? I didn't announce it. I wasn't the first on it. But, that's one thing that I did post. It's probably my first post. I'm pretty sure it was. I don't remember. But if we go to war with Iran, that's how I'll let you know. So subscribe if you'd like more. Subscribe if you want to be here for a future broadcast. Ring the bell if you want notifications, like if you liked it. But in the meantime, I'll see you Friday. I will enjoy the next week and the week after that, and I will enjoy this probably until the day that I die. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. This has been Your Brain on Air with Ollie Vogt Larson. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.